Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome back to this episode of The Lock. First and foremost, we are available on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, also Twitter. You should follow Key. Those links are down below if you want to listen to the podcast early every Thursday as opposed to waiting on YouTube to Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Also, there's our Discord link down below if you'd like to join our community. Now, today's guest is a good friend of mine, and I would love for him to introduce himself. Take it away, aDrive.
Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive, and I'm pretty excited to be on the podcast, man. What's up, Joey? What's up, Key? How you guys doing?
We're doing all right. It's early.
That is iconic. We got that.
I appreciate you guys working with me as a morning person here. So,
bro, as someone who's done an actual collaborative project with you, I realized you made me wake up early and use face cam. That was the big one. And so I had to wake up early and be presentable.
There it is, man. Changing the game. But didn't you feel great every day? You got your recordings done and you were just like, man, I got the whole day ahead of me now.
Bro, I would come back from school dying to jump in the shower to do an episode with Dan.
I would have been on there looking so scuffed.
Bro, there was one episode where Dan and I actually traded beards. He went clean shaven and I just had an actual like goatee type of thing going on. So tell the viewers a little bit about you, aDrive. For those that obviously don't know, obviously a lot of my viewers watch me for Pokemon, and I know a lot of yours as well. But what do you do? Let them know what you do.
Yeah, so I create content on both YouTube and Twitch, primarily focusing in the Pokemon franchise. I do a lot of shiny hunting, which is looking for different colored Pokemon. I do competitive battles, as Joey knows, across like draft league battles. I've done VGC, the official competitive format. I do, top fives, kind of tutorial type videos, just a bunch of stuff related to Pokemon. And I branched out a little bit throughout the years, playing some other franchises, but pretty much stuck to Pokemon for the last 4 or 5 years on my channel.
And this wasn't obviously always your job, right? You did eventually, or you did back in the day, work on Wall Street, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, so while I was in college getting my marketing degree, I worked for the New York Stock Exchange for a little bit. And then I ended up getting a job working for a market research company after I graduated. So I was full-time in the kind of marketing business industry and really planning to work my way up the corporate ladder and make that my career at the time.
And you made this decision, if I'm not mistaken, to leave that job for a year to pursue streaming and see how that did. What actually brought that up? Like, why did that end up happening?
Yeah, so I had started creating content back in 2010, and the time period you're talking about is like 2014-ish. So basically I had kind of been at my job for a while and I liked it. I was about to get promoted and things were really good, but I was kind of looking for something else to do. And I had started streaming Call of Duty again, kind of at the beginning of that year. And to not a lot of success. I was doing competitive Call of Duty, but I decided to stream Pokemon one day just because I'd always loved the franchise and I'd always wanted to create content. So I always tell the story of me pointing a webcam at my DS and just kind of streaming it. And I don't know, man, it just kind of worked. Like I just started growing really fast and went from having like 2 people watching me to like 15 to 50 to 75 to the point where I was, had a couple hundred people watching me on Twitch, Shiny Hunt, over the course of a few months. And I would say come like September, October, this was back in like kind of July of that summer. Come like September, October, I started to think I really could quit my job and do this. And it would be really risky, but like I'm still young and this is a really good opportunity to see if I can make it in this industry that I had really wanted to do back when I was, 18 or so when I started YouTube in the first place. So when I had that opportunity, I really like put the pedal to the, the floor and just grinded as hard as I could to try to make it a reality. Cause I realized I had a golden opportunity that I didn't want to miss out on. Cause I had a few things in my life where I was like so close to like really making it in something and kind of just fell a little bit short. And I didn't want this to be another situation like that.
For sure. And you always had some, sorry about that. But you always had a little bit of a side hustle going on, right? That's like the whole big thing. You were doing your actual job while you were working on this, and eventually you noticed the opportunity that this could actually become something. So you took that step back. And when you took that step back from your job, and I don't want to say your actual job because I too do this, so I'm not undermining YouTube at all. But when you took that step back, what were your expectations? And how did your family react, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I would say my expectations were just to see if I could be disciplined enough to really stick with it. I had confidence that I could, but when you're actually thrown into it and you don't have a boss, you don't have any kind of restrictions or anything, it's really a lot of pressure on the person to make sure that you're going to be dedicated and focused. And I think that's something that a lot of people trip up on or don't realize how important it is in this industry, is you really have to be super self-motivated. So, I think my expectations weren't anything crazy. Like, it was just to see if I could keep going at the pace I was going. And I had pretty much just been doing Twitch at the time. And when I went full time, I also decided to focus on YouTube as well, since I would have that extra time. So I kind of went into that. I did the series with Shady Penguin at the exact same time. So I knew I was going to, see some kind of growth on YouTube from that. And I had an opportunity to really jumpstart my YouTube channel there. So I didn't have any crazy expectations going into it, but I knew that if I worked hard, then there was an opportunity that I can continue doing it. So it was a trial thing. Like I said, I had an opportunity to, set aside a year of my life and see if I could grow a channel, and do it, full time at a successful level. So that was really what my focus was, to just see if I can make it. And my family reaction was actually pretty supportive. My dad has always been really supportive. He was obviously skeptical. But I think he grew to trust me over time and realized that, I had a good head on my shoulders and I knew what I was trying to do. And I went into it very prepared. I had money saved up from my previous jobs, to the point where I was able to actually like pay all my bills a year in advance. So if Twitch and YouTube had flopped completely, like, it's not like I would have been, in a really bad spot. I would have obviously been kind of bummed, but I was confident that my previous job would have hired me back and all this other stuff. Like, I really played my cards right, so there was a backup plan if I ever needed it, but I hope to not have to use it.
No, obviously, and I think you did the right thing in terms of like having money prepared and having it ready. I know when you can go, Key.
I was about to ask, like how much of I don't want to know actual numbers here, but presumably you did take a pay cut for some duration, and just knowing that you had a backup found that's kind of reassuring for me, and I have no stake in this. I just, whenever I hear people like quitting the full time job to do it, I'm always rooting for them, and but I know that there's a big chance that it doesn't work out a lot of the time. So
oh yeah, certainly, yeah, and you have to kind of evaluate that risk versus reward situation. And really think, how is this going to affect me long term? How is this going to affect me short term? And that is true. I did take there was not only a pay cut, but the security of the job that I had, the paid vacation time, the retirement account, the insurance, like all these things that really you don't even think about because it doesn't factor directly into your end salary, but makes a huge difference. So we're talking a pretty significant difference. We're talking probably, if I had to net out when I first left, it probably like a $20,000 difference just in what I was potentially losing when you think of all the other things. Like, again, when you talk like my company matched like retirement and stuff like that, like there was a lot of really big benefits there, that I was leaving. But I wanted to, like I said, it was one of those situations for me where I had seen in the past where I was just on the cusp of like going pro as a musician or making it on YouTube back, 5 years prior or whatever it was. And I just didn't want to let this opportunity slip again because I felt like I was finally in a situation where I was mature enough. I didn't have the distractions and I was smart enough to really, know what I wanted and know what I needed to do to get there.
Yeah, I think that's really admirable, especially just like being able to discern that, okay, this is my time, I can do this now. And like, I want to go back to like, I think you're doing it right. And I think everybody with a side hustle or if whoever is doing their main job, whatever they're doing should start out as a side hustle, right? And again, saving up that money, that was just so, I really do applaud you for your approach on this. It was really awesome. Like some people might have just seen you initially back then. Oh, Dan is just doing a shiny hunting, right? Like we don't know the person behind it, but no, this is planned out. This guy was ready for this. He was working already. I know you were doing 30 hours a week of streaming at least when you were working full time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a little over 20. Like that's one thing too. You're talking about the side hustle and the grind, and I'm sure there's definitely people out there who have hustled and grinded harder than I have.
For sure.
But one thing that I think is really important to point out is I was doing my full-time, salary job where I was working roughly 50 hours a week. And every day I would get home from work and I would get home at like 6 or so, 6:30. And I'd be live by 7 and stream 7 to 10 every single day, at night, or 7 to 11 or whatever it was. And then wake up and do the work thing the next day. And then on my weekends, I was streaming as much as I could on the weekends. And I basically threw away any friendships that I had, any like, personal connections I had. I basically bailed out on any family functions. I stopped eating dinner with my family. Like, it wasn't, and looking back, it was probably pretty unhealthy. And to this day, like, I don't have any connections with any of the people that I used to be friends with, because when you say no enough times, they're not going to keep asking, understandably so. But I was so focused on this goal of becoming a full-time content creator, that I didn't have time for anything else. There was no other option. Like, I knew that if I wanted to get to my goal, I had to get rid of everything else in my life and grind. And I have no regrets. Obviously, it's worked out to this point, and I ended up, marrying my beautiful wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, who somehow stuck with me through that period. Very lucky, because there were nights, like, we joke that she would legitimately just sit there in my room watching me stream, not saying anything, just so she could be around me, because I was so focused on creating content. So yeah, there were definitely some sacrifices and stuff. And I'm not going out there telling people that they should drop out of school and not see their friends or anything like that. But that was just really for me. Like, I knew that I had to really eliminate everything else in my life to be able to have the time to do what I was trying to accomplish,
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, when you said drop out of school, even similarly, when you're going to school and you're focusing on your degree and stuff, people still, they cast out their friends because if I'm studying to be a doctor, this is very intense, right? People's lives are in my hands. So I also understand the whole thing with having a girlfriend at the time that is really, I don't know, I'm just grateful, right? Because Marlene was the same way with me when I was doing all this, and she would just have to sometimes sit there, and she really supported me. So I think that's completely awesome. And obviously making it is luck, but I also firmly believe that you make your own luck. And I think that you saw an opportunity, and if you obviously have not been working hard, you wouldn't have been where you were. So as far as, let's go up a couple of years now that you've made it, how has balancing work plus family been now? Obviously, I know you have a kid as well, but I want you to talk a little bit about before you had Dallas, and then maybe a little bit after, so we can just talk about it. Like, I know back then, like you said, you cast them out for a bit, and obviously now that you have the time to be able to focus on what you do and you've matured, I'm 100% sure, like, I know for a fact, I don't see you up on Discord at 3 o'clock in the morning, playing games with me. So
Oh my
I want to
God,
talk.
he threw all the shade right at me.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing is, if there's been any challenge that I've faced in terms of balancing everything, it's just that it's finding the right balance between work and family, because family needs to be number one. But if there's anything anyone really close to me will say, it's that I'm a workaholic. If there's one thing that really gets me going, it's work. Like, I just grind, and it's because I love what I do. Like, I genuinely love creating content, and I love seeing the success of it. I love seeing the success of the hard work. I love trying to figure out why things are going badly and how I can bounce back if things aren't going the way that I want them to. Like, that's all part of the business side of this job that I love, but I also love the content side and interacting with people and trying to make people's days better. So that's always been the struggle for me, is the work and kind of everything else, balancing that. Before Dallas, it wasn't too bad, because it was really, work really, took precedent unless something came up with Danny, or we had an event or something like that. And Danny has always been, like, incredibly flexible in just saying, you know what, do your thing. And I always try to make time to spend with her. And that's one thing we've had throughout our relationship, is I generally try to finish work by, 7 o'clock or whatever it might be. And then I get the whole night to either watch TV or we'll go out or whatever, kind of before Dallas was born. So that was really something that we had done, so focusing on just trying to balance that. But now that Dallas is here, which is my soon to be 10-month-old daughter, things have definitely been turned upside down. It's been very challenging to kind of balance everything. But I think that the spot I'm in right now is the best I've been in a long time. I feel really good about the content I'm creating. I feel really good about the balance that I have for my family. I'm actually taking a dedicated day off every week from streaming and YouTube, which is, well, I guess I still work, but only during my daughter's naps. I take a dedicated, what I consider to be a dedicated day off, where I'm not creating content really. And that's been really good, because then I get a full day with my daughter. I get to see her throughout the day. I spend some time with her in the morning, throughout the afternoon. I'll see her, she'll come on stream and smile at everyone. And then usually I get a solid hour or two with her at night before we put her to bed. So there's been a really good balance there. And it's just an open line of communication between my wife and I of, where I can help and what needs to be done here and there to ensure that, they're happy and that I'm happy. And, we've been able to work it out, and it's a challenge though. I think it's definitely been one of the biggest challenges I've faced. But as you mentioned, you won't see me in a Discord call at 3 a.m. playing with people. You won't see me, I've had to eliminate a lot of that other stuff. Not that I really did a ton of it beforehand, but there is no playing games with friends after hours. There is no, I don't know. I try to stay out of the drama. I'm trying to get better at that, because at the end of the day, like, I need to just focus on the content that I'm creating and the people that I'm trying to entertain and my family. That's what's most important to me. So it does mean that I'm maybe not as social with some of the other creators. It does mean that, maybe people think that I'm a little cold sometimes because I don't interact as much, but I just have other stuff going on. And, I'd rather spend my time, on my floor, having my daughter kind of crawl over me and, playing with different toys than be dealing with some of the other stuff. So, it's something that I think is going to be a continuous thing where I work towards trying to find the perfect balance and make sure that I give my family time, but they are definitely my number one. And I've been trying to make sure that they both, both my wife and my daughter know that.
I mean, that's the way it should be too. Like, you're married, you have your own house, you have responsibilities. People need to understand that. I'm learning that, obviously, as someone who is recently married. I say recently, but next month it's a year. We actually just made 11 months.
That's
today.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah.
A year, bro.
Yeah. And like the whole getting rid of distractions thing, I definitely, I'm learning how to do that. Marlene and I, like, I'll have days where I can stay up late, and I say that with quotations because she doesn't stop me. Obviously, she'd prefer if I'd be with her, but she understands that some days, hey, I got to do this day and this day, but you'll have me these 3 days. And you talked about, having a dedicated day off. I've started like just trying to do that. Like, by Friday, I do all my weekend videos, so that way the weekend 100% with her, and then I can stream occasionally if anything. So definitely trying to find that balance is something I've been doing for a long time as well. And I do think that when I moved out 2-3 years ago from my family's house to my own apartment, I was able to focus on that grind because I didn't have the distractions of my 2 sisters, my mom and dad being there. They're super supportive, by the way, and I think that's a big thing with you that has been part of the reason you've been successful, is because of the insane amount of support you have to just be able to work and grind on something. And yeah, it's just awesome to have to hear that you also have like this fantastic backbone behind you, right? Of Danny just being able to support you and allowing you to do your thing, and then obviously it not being detrimental in terms of what we can see from your relationship. You guys got married, you guys had a kid, right? I obviously don't know anything behind it. I'm not going to pry too much into that.
She's great, dude. Like, seriously, she's like true MVP. She keeps me super focused and level-headed, and gives me all the space I need to kind of, with this job, it's like a constant grind and the constant need to keep doing more. So that is something that is always going to be a struggle. Like, what I've learned is I hate to say this because someone's going to interpret this as the wrong way, but when it comes to Twitch and YouTube, there's never a point where you're going to sit back and be like, oh, I've made it. Like, I could just chill now. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, it is always like constant grind. And Danny is definitely MVP and just reminding me like, hey, like, when things are bad, try to remember the good stuff and know that I got here for a reason. And when things are going good, keeping me focused on just, keeping it rocking and staying with the gas down. And yeah, she's been phenomenal. So you're right, 100%. And not only her, but, her parents who live next door and my parents who live a little bit away, about 30 minutes away, are all really supportive too. So it's been a really fun ride. And, for me, it's just a matter of seeing how long I can do it, really.
I mean, yeah, for anything content creation, especially, YouTube is finite, right? It's not, I think any job really, anything could happen despite having contracts and anything, but definitely in terms of being, I don't want to go too much into this yet, but like in terms, you can go, Key.
I think a lot of people tend to undersell the actual work that goes into creating content. Like, the people that just aren't aware of how much actually goes into it. You say things like how it's a constant grind. You have a dedicated day off. There's people on the other side of the screen that are like, oh yeah, wah, boo-hoo, you make videos for a living, you take a day off, whatever, I got to go work my 9 to 5 or whatever. I think they just don't understand how much of a grind it actually is. And the key I heard you talking about is that you enjoy the content you're making right now, which I think is super important for staying on that grind. I think if you don't enjoy the content you're making, it makes it really hard to keep doing it, and you lose audience just by not having the passion in it anymore. Like your audience can definitely tell whenever you're not
For sure.
really feeling up to the content anymore.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%.
Yeah,
And that could be so that affects you too, right? Like if I see a comment that's like, "Hey man," and I haven't seen this in a long time, but "Hey man, you're not enjoying this, bro. I'm not enjoying it either, man. What's up? I miss the old Pokey." I'm like, huh? Well, then I got to sit back and say like, okay, I got to reflect a little bit.
Yeah,
what am I doing? Like, what's actually wrong right here, and how can I change it?
that's like super relevant right now for me too, because you guys probably know that I've done so much shiny hunting. I mean, I'm on 5 years basically of doing it almost
Yeah,
every day. And I told everyone, about 2 weeks ago, guys, shiny hunting, we're done for like a month. It's not that I hated it, but I got to the point where I had done a couple of shiny hunts and let's go, and they were really frustrating. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do something else. I don't know if it's gonna be Pokemon. I don't know if it's gonna be a different game. It might be Skyrim. It might be something else, but I am not going to sit here and play Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee right now. I'll see you guys in a month. And I decided to do a different Let's Play Solar Light and Lunar Dark just on a whim. And dude, I have had so much fun streaming the last like week or two playing this new game that I've never played and just experiencing kind of a new Pokemon adventure that it's almost like reignited me again. And one of the best things I could have done for myself was to just say, hey, I'm just going to take a little break and kind of revisit this. And again, it's not that I hated it or anything like that, but it got to the point where I just wasn't having as much fun as I want to have. And there's always a balance of, fun / work / all that stuff. But you need to be enjoying it. And I did this last year too, around this same time where I just was tired of Ultra Sun and Moon or whatever it was. And I was like, all right, guys, we're gonna stream Fortnite for a month and a half. So I'll see you guys in a month and a half if you want to watch Pokemon. And I did that. And it was, one of the best things for me to do. So that's for any creator, you know what I mean? Like you have to ultimately do what's going to make you happy at the end of the day. And we talked about how finite this all is, and you really have to, capture the moment that you have. And I think people will follow if you're truly passionate. So
even if the views kind of dip while you're doing the stuff that's not your main content, I think it's always worth it just in the long term, just as far as the mental health aspect. Like if you're burnt out, eventually your content's going to dip in quality and you're going to lose those viewers anyway. At least if you take that break, you get to come back and actually like put your all back into it, and your viewers will come right back to regularly watching you.
yeah. It's like a nap. It's like taking a nap. It's like staying up late and not sleeping at all versus taking a nap, feeling rejuvenated, type of thing. And obviously, in what we do, as you mentioned, there will be a dip as well. And I think that you can't let that kind of hurt you. You can't take that too personally because it was your choice to make this decision, but you're doing it to better yourself. And Key and I have talked a little bit about this, and no shade. That's why I'm going to say exactly what we said. But I mean, how many times can you be excited about seeing, a shiny Pokemon if you've seen 600 plus of them, right? Like, and you're spending like hours and hours doing this. And this goes for anything, right? How many times can I be excited playing Pokemon Showdown and seeing a Landorus or a Magearna in OU and like still maintain that happiness, that overall joy? And I think for me, I'm a little bit lucky in terms of like my joy for Pokemon or whatever I do hasn't dipped, but there's definitely times where I've been frustrated, and it's shown like in my videos, like where I know for when I did I do a series called Road to Top 10 for OU. And in it, I use moves like Magma Storm, which can miss 25% of the time. And after 3 episodes of me missing 4 times each, the next time before I recorded, I went in, man, I just want this episode to be done. And I made the decision of, well, not Road to Top 10, I hit Road to Top 10, but when I changed it to Road to Rank 1, I made the decision of, okay, I'm sorry, guys. I know y'all love the content. And it was incredible, right? Because for 4 months straight, that series went on for 4 months. But the views never dipped, right? There were 40,000 plus every single episode, which is insane because people obviously liked it. But I had to come to the conclusion. I was like, oh, okay, well, do I care more about the views or do I care more about my sanity when it comes to playing this? And if I'm coming in with the mindset of, man, I just want this recording to be over before I even started, I was like, I'm not doing this. No. You guys could tell I'm not enjoying it. And some people like that I was, getting frustrated, but others obviously didn't. And I personally didn't. So I made that decision in order to avoid being burnt out on everything, right? Just on YouTube in general. Like all my other content I was doing, still loved it, but that in particular, I was like, guys, gotta end this. This is not good for me. I'm miserable before I get into this, and even when I win, like I'm just stuck in this place. So I think you made a really good decision, just deciding to take a step back and do something different. To get yourself excited, it's like working a 9 to 5 and then actually having like a fantastic lunch in between versus just working straight. And going back with the whole working 9 to 5, and people might be like, oh well, you just play on YouTube, you don't do this. I feel like the grind never stops for us. Like when they go home, depending on where you work, obviously your position, some positions you have to do home at work, and you got to do meetings at 3 a.m. But I feel like because we're these presence, or we have this presence on social media. Everything I do, or even if I tweet something, right, or upload a video or stream, all of this affects me and my job and what I'm gonna do. So I do feel like there is a lot that has to go into what we do as well, and obviously avoiding burnout is key for us being able to survive, I think, in terms of that, because mental health is obviously super important.
Even just my shit posting on Twitter.
Oh.
That's part of the job, bro. I'm trying to.
Twitter is as much as a presence as YouTube. That's it, man. Sometimes I'll tweet something out with the purpose of getting people to see it because I want people to check me out, type of thing. So I do think that basically the whole thing, like you taking that break, I think that's super good, and it definitely attests to your great work ethic. And I can just agree with that as well. Like I love waking up in the morning and grinding, right? I was like, oh boy, I'm gonna go record, man. This is sick. Especially when I'm super excited about it. And, when a new game comes out, or even just in general, I'm having fun with what I'm doing. I feel like we're really similar in that, which is why you're actually one person I very much do admire, Dan, in the YouTube scene and Twitch as well. I know.
Thanks, dude. I've been a fan of pokeaimMD for a long time too, so
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to touch on there too about that whole topic. There's a few little pieces in there, but one thing I just want to say for the people watching, it's really important to know that do not, under any circumstance, and this is something I struggle with every day, do not define your worth as a person or as a creator based on the views that you have, because that is one of the hardest things to deal with. It's so easy to grind and do this job when things are going well, no matter what your level is. If you have 100 subs and you're growing 10 subs a day, and that's amazing, or if you have 1 million subs and you're going 5,000 subs a day, it's so easy to be motivated when things are going well, and it's so easy to be down when things are not going well. But you can't define yourself and your worth as a creator based on the viewership that you have, because there's so many factors. As someone, and this is super relevant to me right now, and again, I'll talk about this, and it may seem as though I'm complaining, and I don't want anyone to take it that way. I'm just trying to teach from what I've experienced. But Joey knows, I would stream on Twitch doing shiny hunting, and I think I went like a year straight where every stream I went live, I had 1,000 people watching me, like at once, like concurrent. And right now, if I hit 500 concurrent viewers, then that's a good day for me on Twitch, right? And again, I know there's people who hit 5 and they're happy, right? So it's all relative, but I can't let that affect me, because at the end of the day, there's other factors. Like, yeah, maybe what I'm doing isn't as good as it was, or maybe it's the game, or maybe people are on spring break, or maybe people have finals, or maybe there's all these other factors that come into play. But you just have to be confident in what you're doing, and know that, like, for me right now, like, my focus is, I want to just get through this period of time and get to the summer. I'm really focused on my Pokemon Go stuff and some of my other projects and stuff like that. And I just know that if I stick with it, come Sword and Shield, it's all going to be good. Like, people are going to come back and people are going to want to watch again. And I can't expect everyone to have the same passion that I have for the game that I play. And that's fair. And it's unrealistic to expect people to have that. I totally am cool with people who they'll watch me for 3 weeks out of the year when a new game comes out, and that's it. And then they go back to a different game, and that's totally fine. But as a creator, you just have to understand that there's going to be those ups and downs, no matter what you do, no matter how good you're doing. There's going to be those ups and downs. You just can't let it affect you, because there's so many external things. It's important to be, introspective and really evaluate what's happening and why these things are happening, but it's also important to not, let it affect you too badly. And I think that really speaks volumes for YouTube, especially where it's so algorithmic based at this point. And for anyone who thinks subscriber count actually matters, you're pretty much wrong. It's all about, if you hit a home run on a video on YouTube, YouTube wants to do that same video again, basically. And if you deviate from that, it's going to really hurt you. And it's really difficult to change your content on YouTube right now. And you have to just push through that period. You know, even me transitioning in some ways from Pokemon to Pokemon Go, I saw a significant drop in kind of my success on YouTube, but I pushed through it, and now I can actually upload Pokemon Go videos and have them do okay. You know, they're like very, very happy with my, you know, kind of where that's going. So, but it was rough for, you know, a few months, but you got to just kind of push through it. So just a little advice for anyone who's kind of going through that. Don't be afraid to change things up. If I never switched it up from Call of Duty, which I had done for 4+ years, to try Pokemon, I would have never been where I'm at now. If I had never, you know, tried Pokemon Go, then who knows? You know what I mean? Like there's other things there. So just if there's one thing you take away from this, is just don't define your worth as a creator by your views or your sub count or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, like you need to think about the people that you're impacting in a positive way. Even if it's 5 people or 500 or 5,000 or whatever it is, you're still making a difference. So just focus on that and just be the best, you know, you can be, really.
I think that's especially true in the Pokemon community. Is I feel like Pokemon just such a niche interest for a lot of online content. You know, if there's 10 people in the world that have the hobby of collecting magical lizards or something, if you're reaching 8 of them, you're probably the most successful person to ever penetrate that area. You know.
Yeah, Pokemon's such a weird thing, and just that it's a niche audience, but it's so massive. It's such a big game, but you just can't expect it to have the same life as a Fortnite, because it's not a game that people are going to play every single day most of the time. Like you'll have people who will play it for a few months, but people will beat it and they'll move on, and some people will stick with it and they'll shiny hunt or they'll battle or whatever. But you just have to kind of expect that. And right now we're at what I consider to be like the worst period for Pokemon. That we'll experience hopefully for the next 2 or 3 years. So right now is a real test for any Pokemon specific creators, but you just got to grind it out. And, you know, come October and November, I think it's going to be hopefully really good for a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel like, and the big difference I think between like, you know, games like Fortnite versus games like Pokemon is Fortnite is united. Doesn't matter what your age is, you're gonna play. You know, you're gonna play Fortnite, right? Like, as in terms of like, if I'm playing Fortnite or if someone else is playing Fortnite, we're probably playing the same thing, right? It's a battle royale, right? Whereas with Pokemon, people enjoy it for different reasons, as you mentioned. Some might just like playing through the game. Some like the lore behind it. Some like the competitive. Some like the shiny hunting. So definitely does have this niche audience, and I agree a lot about what you said of just keep grinding, keep doing it. That's something I've been doing myself with Pokemon Let's Go Wi-Fi battles, right? I know that I only have this certain amount of people in my viewers that will watch it, but I know that also if I keep doing this, right? First off, I enjoy them very much. I enjoy doing the Wi-Fi battles, which is part of the reason I keep doing them. And when the games first came out, they were doing really well. And then for 2-3 months after, they were getting X amount of views, right? And still doing well. And right now, obviously, they've dipped a bit, but I do still have this consistency in, you know, whatever amount of viewers it is, 5,000, 10,000 viewers that watch it. And I know that if I keep doing it, as I get into Sword and Shield, people are going to see me for Wi-Fi battles as well as Showdown Lives. You know what I mean? Right? But like, cause I've already set I've set the path, right? The path might be a little bit hard getting there, but once Sword and Shield comes out, once a new game comes out, people will see me. That's what they'll come for. And
dude, I'm so ready for Sword and Shield.
I am too, bro. I am
so ready, bro. I want to do battles again, man. Like I'm so excited to I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just so excited to do battles, dude. I'm excited. Like I started like doing Pokemon stuff because of battling, not because of shiny hunting. Like, you know, like I told you, I was on Shoddy Battle, dude. I was on Pokemon Online. Like, I can show you videos from Pokemon Online, dude. Like, from before I did, like, back in 2012 days. Like, I love Pokemon battling. I remember Mosh Pit, dude. Shofu, watching Hayden, watching you. Like, that's what got me into the Pokemon scene, was competitive. So, I'm ready to bring that back, dude, because my draft league, I love it. One battle a week, but dude, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm so excited for a new game with just new opportunities and new Pokemon and new battle mechanics and just everything, dude. It's gonna be incredible, man. I'm really I'm genuinely so jazzed up about it, and I just remind myself of that, you know, when I'm having a day where it's not so good or, you know, whatever. I'm just like, we're almost at the promised land, dude. Like, we're almost there.
Yeah, we gotta keep grinding. Gotta keep yourself relevant. That's a big thing too.
The honeymoon phase of the new generation is always super exciting.
It is. It honestly is. It doesn't matter how good the new game is either. And I feel like what they've been doing is, you know, kind of sucks because we haven't been getting any information where we all get hype about it going into it. I hate it. I haven't even seen any new leaks as of late, but I just, again, like being able to, and that just proves like we just love Pokemon, right? Like when we get there, we can just do this. You were talking about Wi-Fi battling once a week, but I'm sure you want to upload like 7 days a week type of thing, right? I know for me, I do when that game ends up coming out. But yeah, just like you talked about also when you see certain views, don't let that get to you. Figure out what's wrong, and I think that's huge, right? Like if you take 2015 for example, I think Pokemon views were at their peak around that time in terms of a game that wasn't new, right? Before this was around like ORAS, so Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire.
Yeah, that's about when I started. I started like summer of X and Y going into ORAS release. That was when I started.
And views were huge at that time. And like you look now, I'm a bigger channel than I was back then, but a few months back, I wasn't even hitting views that I was hitting back then. And again, I can't let that get to me. But what I've decided to do was I looked into, okay, this is a video that's doing well. Why is this doing well? Let me look at this. Oh, this thumbnail is pretty cool. This thing actually looks really relevant here. This title is pretty attractive. Let me try that. And obviously, adapting to the whole algorithm is a big thing. And, YouTube can't just tell us, all right, this is how the algorithm works right now, because then we'd all hit everyone. And at that point, I don't know, if everybody's big, no one will be big. I don't know the whole reasoning behind it. You just can't give the sauce out to everyone type of thing. I know that's the actual truth, but finding ways to not only still enjoy yourself, but staying relevant is huge. At this point, I'm just growing. Like what I want to do is I want to grow a little every day, like I've been doing. And I want my current viewers to still want to watch what I'm putting out, right? That's like what I'm going with every day is like, okay, how can I make this video? I have this amount of subscribers. I want them to watch this. How do I do that? Because I know that when Sword and Shield comes out, they're going to get hype. And I know I'm going to be hype and we're going to cover it. So it's just, I do think it is about staying relevant, but also staying, enjoying yourself at the same time. Like you talked about Go, how you were grinding and grinding and grinding, and now you can stream it and still get your, 500 concurrent viewers, or upload it and get X amount of views on it and do fine. And, if had you stopped when the views were down, you wouldn't be there. That's just basically it. You wouldn't be where you are with it. So I think it's just really, really good advice. Now, I wanted your opinion on collaborating with creators versus solo content, how it ends up working out for you, how it doesn't always end up working out for you. I just wanted your opinion on it. Like, and I'll give you like an example of like, people might be collabing all the time and you might get, let's say you get hundreds of thousands of people subscribing to you because of someone. But then like, if they don't watch your content after the collab, is it worth it, or is it better for you? Like, I just want your opinion on that in general, just like the whole collabing versus solo content.
Yeah. So first thing I'll say is I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of creators over the time I've done this. I don't know if I'm necessarily known for collabs, but I work with some amazing people. I've worked with, Shady Penguin. I've worked with Munching Orange. I've worked with you. Even before I did Pokemon, collaborations was a really big thing on YouTube, and it's always really has been. I'm gonna break this into two parts: YouTube and Twitch. Okay. I'll do Twitch first. So I personally don't really like doing Twitch collabs myself, because I look at Twitch as like a way to interact with my viewers directly, and I feel like when I collab with people on Twitch, it's very difficult to do that. That doesn't mean I'm opposed to it, but it really has to be a unique situation where I feel comfortable taking that stream time to really work with someone else. And I don't think Pokemon is necessarily the best type of game to do collaborative stuff on Twitch anyway. So that's why I don't really do a ton of stuff on Twitch unless it ties into a YouTube series. I like to really use that stream time to focus on my audience and focus on that interaction, because that's what my stream is. That's what it always has been, and that's the part I really enjoy. With that being said, it is nice once in a while to work with people on Twitch, but it's not something I do very frequently. Now, when it comes to YouTube, the Pokemon scene is really, really, there's just a lot of people who do like Let's Play collaborations and stuff like that. And I think it's a great way to not only work with somebody different, but to add fresh perspective and kind of create unique content for the viewers and really do something different for people. And that could be really valuable. And you asked about like the sub thing, where if you gain a lot of subs from somebody and then they don't really watch you, is it really anything about that? And what I've actually learned, and the best way I can say this, is like, I realized that for me personally, doing a collab, I would rather do a collab with someone who doesn't have a lot of subscribers, who I'm going to have really good chemistry with and just enjoy the series, than work with someone who's got a lot of subscribers where we're not really connecting on that kind of deeper level from an entertainment perspective. And that's happened to me. Like I've done kind of both of those, and I don't mean to throw any shade towards anyone, because I have so much respect for the people that I've worked with. But I think the best example I could say is I did a series with Crimson Seabad, and Chase is my homie. We're like best friends. He doesn't have a huge YouTube presence. I think when we did our collab, he might have had like 10 or 15K or whatever. But that series was one of the most successful and absolutely the most fun I've had doing a Let's Play series. No shade to you either, Joey. He's just my best friend. So anytime, we got on a video, we were just having a blast. Like, it didn't feel like there was any stress to record. It was just so effortless. So after that series, I don't think I've done another collab series since then. And a big part of that is because I'm afraid that I'm going to jump in. And this is really kind of, tearing that wall down and really giving my perspective. I'm afraid that I'm going to jump into a collab with somebody and it's not going to click the way I want it to. And then you're committed to a 30 plus episode series with someone
where you don't enjoy yourself.
Yeah, maybe they're the nicest person in the world, and it has nothing to do with the person. Like, I'm not trying to say that I've worked with. I genuinely have so much respect for all the people that I've worked with, and I wouldn't have worked with them if I didn't. But you just don't know sometimes, and to me, it's so important that the two people really click, and it's hard to get that chemistry and to get that to happen unless you really know the person. And like, there was an example. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but there's a creator that I had been talking to about doing a series with, and they got a couple million subs. They're a pretty big creator. And I basically said to him, like, listen, dude, like, they were interested in working with me. I was interested in working with them. But I said, dude, we have to meet in person and sit down and hang out for a day before we can even discuss going any further. Because I just can't commit to that situation where we say, okay, let's do a Let's Play. And then, 3 episodes
it happens and you're just both sitting there like, what's happening? You don't even want to be here type of thing. And
held hostage by the content.
Exactly. And again, I by no means am I trying to put any jabs towards any creators, because it doesn't have anything to do with that. It could all be me, like that. It could all, but I to me, that is like the biggest thing. So I can't bring myself to do a collab right now at this point in my career until I know that the person I'm going to work with is someone that I truly feel like we're going to create good content. And again, it really has nothing to do about the views, has nothing to do about the sub count. That's really irrelevant in this situation when it comes to a collab, because my focus is to get the best video I can out there. And I know that if I do that, then the views and everything will be there. And I learned that so well from the Crimson Seabad series, man. And like, it was such a learning experience for me, because again, I'm in this situation where, again, he's my best friend, but he doesn't have a huge YouTube presence. And I'm going into it like, okay, obviously we're going to work together. This is going to be really good for you. It's going to help out your channel. But little did I know that it was going to help me in so many ways, because it was really going to open my eyes and see, this is what a collab needs to be in order for it to be successful. And again, maybe a lot of this is in my head. Maybe it's,
I think you're right.
I look back and I see people who supported other series I've done. They're like, oh, this is my favorite series. Work with this person, work with this person. And I look back and I'm like, I really don't feel like it was there with this series. And I feel like, I can't speak enough to just how good of friends him and I are, and just how much fun we had. So that's been my struggle with collabs. Like, I'm always open to doing them, and doing a one-off video is always much easier, but committing to this massive 35, 40 episode project where I'm going to basically spend more time with this person than my own wife over the next month. Like, I need to make sure that we're going to be in a situation where, we can connect on a good level and really bring something entertaining and unique to the viewers, because otherwise we're just wasting our time. And I don't ever want to do that. I don't want to waste anyone's time, and I certainly don't want to have my time wasted. So that's kind of my philosophy on the collabs and the solo content. I really like to do the solo stuff. Like, I've always kind of looked at myself as like a lone wolf in the community, not to sound cheesy, but I always want to be cool and friends with everybody, but I'm just going to focus on my grind. And that's really my thing. I don't want any of the distractions. This goes all the way back to when I started. Like, I need to make sure there's no noise, because for me to really do what I want to do and really hit the goals that I want to hit, I need to like be laser focused. And, sometimes as much as people have good intentions, sometimes the noise can kind of trip you up a little bit.
For sure. I think you made such a great point as well about enjoying it, and how if you enjoy it, people are going to enjoy it too. Because I'll take, for an example, a Let's Play. Episode 1 and the last episode are probably going to be the most viewed episodes, right? Like, I think that's just the thing. It's a new series. People will see it. Now, because it's a new series and people are going to see it, if you are enjoying yourself, I think that's a whole reason why the one with Chase did so well. You guys are friends, right? So there's banter going back and forth. You were generally happy to be recording with him. So if episode 1 gets a ton of love, people are probably going to keep watching it no matter what. And then I'll take the example as well as me with my friends. Out of my close friend group, I'm the biggest YouTuber, right? Out of my close friend group, and that includes like people in my Heat of Fita groups, like Key, Blunder, MV, Chimpact, Gator. The list goes on. But at this point, I don't care at all about, I love collabing with them because I genuinely know I will laugh. There will be banter. We'll talk. It'll just be a laugh. And because people know that at this point, I can upload a collaborative content and I can upload solo content, and they'll either do the same or sometimes a collaborative project with people that I've worked with millions of times, not millions, but hundreds of times on my channel, will still do either the same or better than sometimes my solo content. And I think a lot of that has to do with also Pokemon itself, because Pokemon at turns does become stale, right? We've been having what is essentially the same game for 3 years, I want to say. But yeah, I think that's such a great lesson that it shouldn't matter about sub count. And I kind of wanted to get that out of you because I knew that. I personally knew that. And I wanted to get that out of you. I wanted to see your perspective on it. But loving what you do is so big. And you take the podcast, for example, right? He doesn't really have a presence online, whereas I do. But I generally love talking to Key, and I'm sure Dan, if you had a few hours to talk to Key, you'd love it too. Like his perspective. Like right now, it's early for both of us, so we're kind of like chill. We're kind of really like chill out, but like I generally love that, and so I love doing this. And you also talked about how it benefit Chase, and I think that's a great thing to keep in mind as well. Like if I'm gonna eat, I want my friends to eat.
And that's
you get
it.
me?
That's
like
it for sure, dude. Yeah. That's it for sure. And like I just want to also touch on, like, that was, for me, it was a goal of mine to do whatever I could to help my friend Chase so he can go full time. And like I said, he helped me out in so many ways too. Yeah. And like I said, I also am so appreciative and thankful to people that I've worked with. Like, I've worked with a lot of creators that I said, and we talk about sub count and being bigger and whatever else. And again, I personally am at this situation now where I don't believe that sub count matters at all. Like, I really think it's the most useless stat, and people think it means more than it does. I really don't think it matters at all. But at the time of a lot of these series, it did really matter, and it really was, really kind and selfless of a lot of these people to be willing to work with me, because I remember the Shady collab, obviously, which was a huge part in me going full time, and I have nothing but the highest level of respect for that guy. But he was willing to work with me at 15K subs, and he was 150 or 200,000 subs at the time, and that's not something that really happens, right? Like, you really have to be selfless and say, yeah, I'm gonna trust and work with this guy, because you never know who's out there who's just trying to use you or whatever, and there's always that concern and stuff like that. And obviously, my intention was never to do that with him or anyone I've worked with. But you always have to kind of have that in the back of your mind, that you always got to be careful there, because sometimes people have not, less than ideal intentions or whatever. But, the fact that he was so willing to work with me, and then, Munch was so willing to work with me, and then I worked with Mike, and then I worked with you. And, I've done some really cool series in the past, and I'm just really thankful that I've had an opportunity to work with such great creators. And I just don't want the takeaway from everything I just said to be any sort of a bash fest on other people, because it definitely is not that case. Like, I just am trying to emphasize how important it is that you really have that good connection with people. And sometimes you won't know. You could go into something and think that it's going to be great, and it's not, or maybe people think it's great, but you didn't think it was great. And again, a lot of this could come down to me. Like, I can be a pretty abrasive person sometimes. I'm very opinionated. I'm willing to speak my mind, and I can also be very like, hey, this is how I think it should be done. And that can clash with people too. So again, it doesn't necessarily, if it didn't work out, or I didn't feel like it worked out, it doesn't necessarily have to be a reflection of the other person. I'm willing to say that, obviously, that there's two parts to the pie here. So that's just the thing there. So I just think for anyone who's listening, like, it's really important to just realize that, and just understand that, like, find those good connections, because it's going to make for better content at the end of the day. And the objective should not be to try to grow and gain subs from a collab or whatever. It should be to create the best content you can for your viewers. And if other people happen to see that, then that's great too. It's your opportunity to reel them in and get them to be fans of what you're doing. So focus on that, and you'll be able to find, hopefully find some success.
I think that's something that our group has specifically kind of nailed it, as far as collaborating with just within our own group, where, like Joey said, he's like the biggest creator in our group. But I think everyone kind of benefits in that we all have like a sort of on-screen chemistry as a like you take, for example, the Hita Fajita series for Blunder, it's like every episode probably gets as many views as he has subscribers, just because everyone like enjoys just listening to the banter and like just the chemistry everyone brings to the table on those episodes.
Yeah, like things like that will just be doing better. And I do think, I don't want you to sell yourself short, Dan, in terms of like when you approach Shady and Shady loved the idea too, because obviously I was super cool of Shady to say yes, but you also approached him with a fantastic idea. It was something that wasn't, I mean, it was a twist on Nuzlocke, but it's something that hadn't been done. And, you know, it ended up working out great for you. And this all goes back to making your own luck too, right? You were grinding, you took a chance, you hit him up, and you know, it just ended up working out. And like you said, you have nothing but the utmost respect. I'm the same way when it comes to him. I love Jonathan, but like, oof, I feel weird calling him Jonathan. I'm gonna go.
I know,
I love Shady.
I know, right?
I never considered that he had a first name until just then.
Yeah, it's not.
I just thought of him as Shady.
His first name was Shady. His last name was Penguin. That's it.
That's it. That's it. Well, yeah, I think that's a really good point too. Like, you got to put yourself in it to succeed. And what's actually funny is both the situation with Shady and Munch, they actually approached me to do the series, believe it or not.
That's sick.
Yeah. So like, I remember the situation I had where I had made like kind of a meme video and in the GBA, and Shady thought it was funny, and he was like, dude, I got to work with this aDrive guy. He tweeted it out or whatever it was. And immediately, the first thought in my head was like, I need to come up with the best idea that I could possibly come up with to pitch to Mr. Penguin here, because this is an opportunity. Like, I have an opportunity to work with someone who I respect, someone who is, a titan in this community, who's very well respected. It's an opportunity. I have to figure out how I can make this special. So I went to brainstorming, and that's where the Cage Lock came out. And then with Munch, it actually was something funny where like a fan had tweeted, it was like, yo, you guys need to work together. And then he was kind of like dropped the little eyes, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's the way to do it, bro.
You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh wait, like I gotta prepare myself and be ready to rock. And I think a lot of that came from, again, a lot of fortune and just trying to be the best person I could be and just be myself throughout this whole process. But also like being ready and being open and doing the things I need to do to get to that point. Like,
yeah.
I don't think one thing I'm so proud of is I don't think anyone in the community can ever look at what I've done and look at who I am and say that I'm lazy or that I don't work. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like, if that's what I leave behind, whether it's success or not, is that I worked hard, like that's something that I'm really proud of. So, kind of looking back on that, that's one thing that no one can ever take away from me, regardless of when this all ends or if it ends or anything like that as a creator. Like, I know that I have put in the work, and sometimes you'll work and it won't work out. Sometimes you will, and it'll all be great. Maybe you'll fall in the middle somewhere, but that's something that I think anyone can do though. And anyone can put it in the grind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's, follow Gary V on Twitter, whether it's your side hustle, whether it's you're going to be an Uber driver on the side, whatever you're going to do, like you can put in the grind, don't waste those hours in the day because you only have so much time, like, and it's really, if you have to look at what your goals are in life. And if what you're doing right now isn't going to help you get to those goals, then you need to reevaluate and figure out what you can do to hit those goals. Cause that clock's ticking, man.
Yeah. That's such great advice, honestly. I know when I eventually decided to do full-time YouTube, I had been working, I did like several jobs, right? Like I worked in an office. I was still doing college part-time while working in an office. I worked at Subway. I worked in this Italian restaurant. I was like a busboy / waiter. And while still doing YouTube, while still having a girl, while still taking classes all at the same time, right? And the thing, and I actually really thank my old boss, but the thing that got me to do this was I hated the way my boss treated me that day. And I walked out and never came back, right? Because I was a waiter, I wasn't like on any pay. I was making what I put out, right? I was making only tips and that was it. And granted, tips were great, right? But it wasn't worth being treated the way I was. So, but because I had been continuously doing YouTube on the side, no matter even working 14-hour shifts, right? And then the days I didn't work 14-hour shifts, I had like 8 hours at school. And then after that, I would go see Marlene, right? Despite all that, I was still doing YouTube on top of it. And because I kept grinding, when I eventually did get fed up with my boss, I was able to come back home and I was like, I was doing the math. I was like, I made just as much amount this month on YouTube than I did with this month working here. I can afford to never go back and be treated like that again, as long as I keep grinding. And in fact, having 14 extra hours of the day to be able to work on something I love will open up even more opportunities. And then from there, I was obviously, I don't want to say blew up, but I blew up in terms of Pokemon, I think, or at least competitive Pokemon, or where the community is, where I'm finally in a place where, I don't have the most subs, but I enjoy what I do. I love being able to do what I do. I get paid for what I do. And because I get paid for what I do, I can enjoy what I do and do what I do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
It all goes back in this whole thing. So definitely grinding, making opportunities for yourself. And as you said, a side hustle, super, super important. I love the insight that you brought for this, Dan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude, I was glad to be able to come on here, and thank you guys for doing this, and thanks for the time. And hopefully, if one or two people listen and get a little inspiration, that's the end goal, man. Is just I just try to spread that positivity and just give my thoughts and hopefully inspire people, because like I said, it's just so important to realize that that key point of figure out what your goals are. If what you're doing is not helping you get to your goals, like what do you need to do to start making that happen? Because again, there may be things in your way, obstacles. Everyone's got their own obstacles, but you got to figure out, how you can get around those to do what you got to do. Because otherwise you're just wasting your time, man. And like, you may have different beliefs than I do when it comes to what happens when all is said and done, but I'm just trying to make this life count, Yeah. And I'm just trying to be a good person and trying to get my stuff done and achieve the things that I want to achieve, so I could provide for my family, and so I could, have that self-satisfaction of accomplishment. And that's what I'm going to do. So I just hope that people find some sort of inspiration and start the grind, and don't wait till tomorrow. Do it now. So
you got the time is there, and the worst thing you could do. I hate wasting time. Like, that's the worst thing you could do. So, and for me anyway, obviously murder and stuff like that, whatever. But like, in terms of this, wasting time is one of the worst things you can do. I appreciate, like I said, you coming out. And when you talked about the whole Munch actually hit you over the eyes, hey man, you tweeted at us, hey, I want to be on the podcast. And it made me smile, like, in a sense, like, I want Dan to be on the podcast. And I didn't know how to approach him or when to approach him. Well, not that I didn't know how to approach him. I'd be like, yo, but I didn't know when to approach him. So I'm happy that you took the initiative. Okay, I wouldn't be like, yo, I'd be like, yo. I So thank you so much for being on the podcast. Tell them where they can find you. Let them know about any projects coming forward. This is your time. Plug yourself right now.
All right, so if you guys are looking for the best Pokemon Go streams in the world, you can go to twitch.tv/aDrive. I say that with full confidence because I really do feel that I have the best Pokemon Go streams in the world right now. You can also check me out, Shining Hunting, Let's Plays, all that good stuff, all on my YouTube as well, youtube.com/aDrive. And if you want to see me post a lot of tweets and then delete them afterwards, you can go to my Twitter, twitter.com/aDrive_TK. That's what I got to say.
Hey man, you said getting rid of the noise, man. It's all right. Sometimes you let the noise get to you, but then
I definitely delete more tweets after I post them than I actually leave tweets up, dude. Like, I'm so bad at it because I say stuff because I want to say it, and then I realize like this isn't my place, or it's not my business, or this is not what I should be spending my time on. And the situation I'm talking about. But that situation, it's none of my business. And I posted a tweet about something, a couple days ago, and I legitimately found myself like spending an hour or so of my day like
just watching the replies, right?
And just and I had a good time in that period. But then I took a step back and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why do I even care about this? This is, this is so dumb. This has not, not to diminish the situation, but this is so dumb. This has nothing to do with me or what I'm trying to do. It does not help my goals. It does not do anything for me. It's given me a little bit of, a laugh here, seeing the replies or whatever, but this has nothing to do with anything that is productive. So I ended up, I realized that what I had said was, in some ways negative. So I just deleted it and I moved on with my life, and I don't regret it, but I realized that, it just wasn't helping me get where I needed to get and accomplishing the things that I wanted to accomplish. And it doesn't align with my values of trying to be that positive person and focus on the grind. So I'm willing to take that step back and say, hey, you know what, I was wrong here. And, just kind of focus on what's important. So yeah, if you want to see some deleted tweets, man, you can go to my Twitter, dude.
Hey, you grew and learned from it, bro. I'm gonna be real, man. Just like, because we're about to cut it off, but sometimes I write something out just because I want to write it out, and I screenshot it to my friends so we'll get a laugh, but I'll never put it out. Like, I won't. Okay, it's not that I never put it out, but it's like, I'm the same with you. Like, I don't want to be part of this thing. Like, what do I care? Like, if I think you're being stupid, if I put that out, I'm gonna be like, you're being stupid. I don't want to have to argue after and defend myself. I just want to say, no, what you're saying is dumb. and
Yeah,
there's a million people after that are saying why. I don't have to.
Oh my God, dude. Like, dude, I had a tweet. I'm going to bring this up. I had a tweet where, to me, real quick, one of the things that I just absolutely can't stand is when people aren't faithful to their significant other, especially in a situation where you're married. That's just one of those things that, to me, I just value that so highly in terms of just like moral compass. There's a streamer that cheated on his wife, and I don't watch them anymore. Like that, I really am serious. So anyway, Tiger Woods won, you know, the whatever it was, the Masters, and I made a tweet about that saying like, oh, we're just gonna forget about his you know, his lack of faithfulness, and I got so attacked, dude, and understandably so. And I was like, I don't want to deal with this, dude. I deleted the tweet and I moved on. Like, I just wanted to say what I wanted to say. But you got to realize it's a two-way street, and people are going to say what they're going to say, and they have all the right to do that. And I deleted my tweet and I moved on.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if backlash is something you're scared about, don't put it up on a public platform. That's
it. Yeah, and I didn't think it all the way through. I was like, I even said unpopular opinion time. Like, here we go. And then I prepared to read all those responses. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just take the L on this one and not try to ruin this moment. People are happy that he won. Let him be happy. That's cool, dude. I'm moving on.
I recently adopted the philosophy when tweeting that I just look at what I'm about to post and I'm like, would Joey pokeaim retweet this? And if the answer is no, I just cancel it.
I like that.
Sometimes I catch a glimpse of my Twitter drafts, and I'm just like, man, I'm glad Joey stopped me from tweeting.
Yo, it'll be like that. He'll PM me and was like, hey bro, what you think about this? I was like, that's funny, but I can't retweet that. I will not put that on my timeline. I will not get that in front of my friends. I don't want to take too much more of your time, Dan. Thank you so much for giving us this hour. I really do appreciate it. Guys, go ahead and check him out. His links will all be down below. Give him a yo, send him a yo, tweet at him. Keep an eye out on his Twitter because he might fall, and when it is, it's funny, but then he'll delete it, so it's fine. I hope you guys all enjoy it.
Experience, man. It's a growing experience.
For sure. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everybody. All right, let's get this boy Craig out of here.
Yo, Craig!